Hello again, guys, and welcome to AI Governance Engineering with myself, Gavin. Today, again, I'm going to be doing another demonstration of the tool that I've been working on, which the name's changed a million times, to be honest, but it's currently going under the ISO compliance gate. And if you've watched my other videos, you'll know kind of the direction it's been heading in. But just as a reminder, it's basically an automated compliance tool that intercepts machine learning models before deployment, and most importantly, it assesses them against 8 different ISO standards and also the EU AI Act. As you know now, the EU AI Act's pretty much law. Yes, there's been a few delays recently, well, within the digital omnibus package. I still think it's sensible if we focus on, engineering tools and solutions to get prepared for whatever's happening, because it's quite clear that it's not clear what's happening. So let's keep moving forward and pushing forward with new ideas, and hopefully then we can have a few different strategies which we'd probably have to combine together, take a bit from here and a bit from there, and we can still make sure that we're ready. So again, always targeting those that are developing, deploying AI systems in Europe, especially if they fall under the high risk category. Credit scoring, hiring of staff, anything to do with immigration, even though government will probably handle that anyway. But you get the picture. You need to prove compliance with multiple ISO standards supporting you along the way in order to meet that compliance. Again, I'm sure things will change as the EU wants to sort of give out their own management system, but I'm sticking with the ISO standards. That's my thing. That's what I like. I like the structure of them. I like the sort of the speed in which they come out and they respond to needs of the market. So this channel will primarily be about ISO standards all the way through. Right then, let's get into things, shall we? So here you can see I'm inside AWS SageMaker, and I'm currently in the model registry. And I've already created this model here, which is a visa risk classifier, because I've decided to focus this on a sort of an immigration visa issue using AI tools. So this is the latest version that I've already created, and its current deployment status is set to approved. And if we just click into it, and if we look into activity, so as you can see, it's been approved, but there's warnings. So it's approved with compliance gaps. A review is recommended. So now I'm going to register a new model, and then you'll see the compliance gate, the ISO compliance gate, which I've created, kick into action. So inside Windows PowerShell, I'm now going to essentially register the model. And then on the left-hand side, we're inside AWS CloudWatch. And in a few seconds, we'll see Lambda that Lambda will trigger automatically. So here we go. Bam. There we go. Fundamental rights impact assessment, 8 ISO standards. And we should be able to refresh quickly before we miss all the action. Click into here, and there we go. We should see the events taking place. So it's processing the compliance assessment for the ARN model number, retrieving LLM API key, gathering metadata from SageMaker model registry. What else? Let's refresh. It's probably finished already now. Yeah, what we got? ISO audit pattern completed. What else? Extracting individual ISO statuses. And again, you can see them all there. If you've been watching some of my previous videos, you'll recognize this already. We've also got OWASP AI exchange controls in there. Executing EU AI Act risk classification tool. That's another sort of pattern that I created. Anything else? Let's have a look. It's generated the EU AI Act report summary, a compliance evidence JSON. It's updated the model registry to rejected. Updated model registry to rejected. Compliance gate 1, data quality gaps, lack of representativeness and transparency metrics. It's storing all the compliance reports in S3. Stored the executive summary there, the ISO report, EU AI Act report, fundamental rights assessment. And we got 5 juicy reports to check out. Again, SNS is sent out. So you can see here that we've got the email, the SNS directly from AWS, and the system has been rejected and it's now updated to model number 8. So if I go back to my models, visa risk classifier, this is the new version. So we started off on version 5 and it was approved. And now you can see 3 minutes ago, this is version 8 and it's being rejected. Just click into it, look at some of the activity. So status updated to rejected. Comments, compliance, gate 1 says data quality gaps, lack of representativeness and transparency metrics against ISO 5259 data quality. So now we're going to go to look at some of the reports that were generated by the system. Audit reports. What's the latest one? I don't know why it ever doesn't show me the latest versions, or can you? Let's see if it's in here. Nope, that's just for the actual model itself. So let's go back, number 8. Second, yeah, here we go. This is the one. So let's have a look then. So you can see here, the tool that I've created, this ISO compliance gate, I've got it to generate 4 different reports about this particular model, which is a visa classifier. So we'll start with the ISO standards report. We'll download it again as usual, just for a bit more better visibility. See what they're saying this time. Right, so let's have a look. The visa risk classifier is an XGBoost based AI system designed for H1B visa application risk scoring. It's deployed on AWS SageMaker and is classified as high risk under EU AI Act Annex 3 Section 7B. The audit scope includes evaluating the system against multiple ISO standards based on testing, data quality, AI lifecycle, risk management, quality evaluation, explainability, and AI management. The overall conformance assessment is red. The system shows significant deficiencies across documentation, testing, data quality, risk management, and explainability. A key thing there, which I added in last week. Shouts to those guys and that particular standard there. I'm getting so lost in all these ISO standards, it's crazy. 6254, amazing. I haven't finished reading it fully yet, and you know, with these standards you've got to go over them again and again, but you know, what an eye-opener. Key areas lack critical compliance elements warranting immediate action, and then you've got top 5 cross-standard risks or deficiencies, data quality gaps, in line with 5259, testing deficiencies, no adversarial testing or validation results against, 291193 and 421192. Risk management, it's missing 23894, explainability, missing 6254, and life cycle integration, it's missing 5338. Priority recommendations, again, establish risk management framework, implement explainability methods beyond feature importance, develop comprehensive test documentation, integrated compliance with the standard focus area, overall status, key strengths, critical gaps, and evidence. For test documentation, 291193, there's no validation results, adversarial testing absent. It's tested it against the 4 parts of 5259, and it's just not looking good there. No data quality metrics, lack of governance, and data quality plan. What else? 25058, quality evaluation. Again, another overlooked technical standard to do with AI quality. No risk management framework or risk register. Missing quality evaluation metrics. Quality evaluation metrics required. AI management overall status is amber. Key strengths, AWS deployment documented. So that is one kind of positive. Critical gaps, it's missing management processes. Evidence required, AI management documentation. And this is what we're all working towards. Those of us that are fully focused on 42001 and dialed into the ISO standards, that is the ultimate goal, obviously. Cross-standard assessment, again, it just goes into more detail for all of the different standards that I've got within this tool. And this, again, this is just the executive summary. So you can imagine if you're on the board, Imagine how helpful this could be to you, having this depth in terms of all of these standards interwoven together. Again, not perfect, not final. And please do remember, guys, I'm not from this background at all. It's just something I've been studying for about 2.5 years, alongside my normal day job where I teach economics and business studies in IGCSE here in Vietnam. But still, if you've got any, my point is, if you've got any comments or standards that I'm missing which you think could enhance this, please let me know, and I'll be getting them straight away and including them in with this tool. I want this to be as targeted as necessary. Obviously, you have to draw a line somewhere, but at the same time, I know there's still things that I'm overlooking. So again, any feedback in ways I can enhance this would be much appreciated. So unified risk and control analysis, got the risk ID, the description, the source standard, impacted life cycle stage. Again, that really, I tend to just buzz off this one here, this impacted life cycle stage, because again, that's important. You got to know what risks you've got and where are they, because obviously, one, it's important. Two, you need to do it. You need to know it. But three, imagine once you've implemented this system, you've got familiar with it, you've probably had a few hiccups here and there, but then imagine how it's going to be able to support you in knowing exactly, in your risk assessment, your risk plan, your AI impact assessment, your development life cycle, whichever it is, you're already going to be thinking what risks at what stage of the AI life cycle. And hopefully a tool like this could help you do that, just so it's always in your face. Because again, you don't really see much conversation about 5338 other than data people and the people that sort of help put the standard together. But again, everyone's got to essentially think about that, because you're going to get audited or have someone come and implement something into your business, let's say, or your product. And what's your response if they ask you about what specific risks have you identified at what specific stage of the AI system life cycle? And this already just builds it in, but also just having it there every time you've especially if you're using AWS, having this there and bolted on top will just keep it visual. And I think that's going to be important so that we don't, overlook anything. So in this one, risk one, description is data quality deficiencies, and the source standard is 5259. Impacted life cycle stage, training, mitigation, implement data quality metrics, residual risk high, risk who's the owner, data team, and the due date is in 30 days. And again, you can just see you got all these different risks marked down. Evidence and documentation, artifact required by current status, owner, location, gap. So test policy, let's try something else. Risk register required by ISO 23894 clause 6, current status not available, owner, risk officer, location to be decided, gap, and next action, create risk register. And again, just pause these if you want to stop and have a look at them. Recommendation roadmap. Again, this is all just for, this is just the executive summary, so you can see how detailed it is and informative. Okay, on to the next. So now let's look at the fundamental rights assessment report. Again, I'll download this. We can view it inside Cursor. Okay, here we go. So the Visa Risk Classifier is an AI system designed to assess the risk associated with H1B visa apps. The system is high risk under the EU AI Act Annex 3 due to its implications for migration and border control. Key fundamental rights at risk include non-discrimination, asylum rights, data protection, and the right to an effective remedy. And the overall risk level is assessed as high due to the potential impacts on vulnerable populations, including, where have you gone? Including who? Let's have a look. We need to know who else. Oh, okay, I read that wrong. No, there we go. Including asylum seekers and low-wage workers. Critical findings include lack of bias assessment and appeal process. Deployment should not proceed until these issues are addressed. You got the system name, the purpose, the intended use and deployment context, the risk classification, automated decision making level, AI assigns risk scores, human review for high risk cases only, affected population. So this could also probably form part of your 42005 AI impact assessment as well. Fundamental rights impact assessment, non-discrimination, Article 21. Affected groups, all nationalities and vulnerable groups, impact mechanism, potential bias in risk scoring based on nationality, magnitude, major 4, likelihood, likely 4, risk level high 16, mitigation, priority 0, critical. Detailed impact analysis. So again, you could easily, this could be part of your 42005 AI impact assessment for sure. Protected characteristics, we've just gone over that. Privacy and data, protection risks, impacts on vulnerable populations. Yeah, you kind of get the picture. Societal and environmental impacts, economic impacts, potential barriers to obtaining visas for low-wage workers, democracy and governance, impact on migration policy fairness, system failures and misuse, predictable failure modes, potential for biased outcomes without human review, reasonably foreseeable misuse scenarios, discrimination based on nationality, etc. Risk matrix, critical scores, non-identified 20 to 25, high risk score 12 to 19, non-discrimination, right to data protection. Mitigation measures, conduct comprehensive bias assessment, implement fairness constraints in model, develop appeal process, and the type of mitigation, technical governance, owner, AI development team, compliance team. Timeline for the technical mitigations is before deployment, and the timeline for the governance related mitigation is 3 months. And then it's got some success criteria and then what this depends on. Residual risk after mitigation with medium, acceptable, yes. Stakeholder consultation, legal compliance teams, ethics committee, data protection officer. That's for internal. External stakeholders, immigration advocacy groups, human rights NGOs, affected community representatives. So again, this is, I built this this fundamental rights tool, and I'll probably sort of show you the back end of it in another video. But I built that because what I found I was doing was just building lots of technical videos and overlooking the sort of human element of the EU AI Act requirements and the 42005 AI impact assessment. So you're not really, I'm not really giving its own time here, but this is a tool in itself. This whole ISO compliance gate tool is a bunch of tools that I've created which stand alone in their own right, and I've tried to just put them together into one superpower essentially. So I'll probably do a video just on this fundamental rights tool, because again I think this is easily overlooked, and hopefully you can see, looking through some of the sort of the sort of material that it generates, or the output it generates, you can see the potential for it. Documentation, record all feedback and integrate into system design. Final fundamental rights impact assessment approval by ethics committee. Monitor bias and fairness metrics monthly. Track incidents of rights violations. Periodic FRA review annually or after major systems updates, which is this is actually in line with ISO 42005. I forget exactly which clause, but I was reading it just today, not long before I started this video. Continuous improvement, compliance attestation, EU AI Act Article 27, fundamental rights impact assessment completed before deployment, includes stakeholder consultation, documents mitigation measures, ISO 42001 control A7 impact assessment process established. And then if you're into NIST there, likelihood and magnitude documented. And then the appendices are all there as well for you to look at. Right, let's have a look now at the EU AI Act assessment. download this, open it up again. So again, guys, just for clarity, and I think I might have made a little mistake at the start. The first report we looked at was the ISO specific one. That's going through all of the ISO standards that I've mapped into this particular tool. That was looking at them. Then we've looked at the fundamental rights impact assessment, and that's another tool built into this sort of suite of tools that I've created. And now this is the EU AI Act one. So we're checking the system against plenty of ISO standards, 8, I think. We're also extracting a fundamental rights impact assessment based on that data. And now we're going to look at how does this align with the EU AI Act. So it's classed as high risk, and the regulatory basis for that is EU AI Act Annex 3, Section 7B. Migration, asylum and border control management systems fall under high risk categories. You've got these costs that I put in there initially, but I'm going to get rid of them. But still, it gives you an idea of some of the costs you could be facing. Implementation timeline is 18 to 24 months to achieve full compliance. Compliance requirements: establish a quality management system. Whether this is, it most likely will be ISO 42001 or any variants that the EU comes out with, and whoever else. I mean, everyone's sort of fighting for that title at the moment. Conduct a conformity assessment, ensure robust human oversight, implement risk management, data governance, maintain detailed technical documentation, ensure transparency and explainability of model outcomes, and conduct regular audits. And you can see here that if you look back over these previous reports, they are all sort of pointing towards this in one way or the other, especially the ISO standards. That's where I've handpicked them. This tool was part of an even bigger one, and I was getting lost in the source, so to speak. So I was like, okay, what's the ultimate tool that I want here, which I can use within AWS for machine learning models? So I've been specific as possible, and even myself, each time I run a demo or run an example of this, I'm starting to see all the little interlinks, and hopefully you can. So next steps: conduct a bias and fairness assessment, evaluate training data and model outcomes for biases, develop and implement human oversight procedures, enhance transparency and explainability, implement methods like SHAP or LIME to provide counterfactual explanations, establish a comprehensive appeal process, perform adversarial testing, edge cases. Confidence level is high given the clear categorization under Annex 3. Consideration: given the involvement of sensitive data and potential impacts on fundamental rights, ensure the system aligns with data protection regulations. So straight away, get your GDPR team involved. Again, GDPR is something I do want to bring more into my work, and probably also the latest ISO 27701 PIMS. That's something I definitely want to get into this system as well, for sure, because I'm actually myself studying for the CP certificate by IAPP. I haven't had the time. I've been so distracted by AI stuff that I've kind of put my CP on the back burner, but I'm gonna get it done. And I still very much value the data protection side of things. I've got to just start bringing it more in, which will be done for sure. Let's have a look. Final assess risk tier from Lambda is high risk. As a high risk AI system, this model must comply with all of the following articles. And again, there you go, mandatory. Compliance assessment results, its non-compliance, reject, its high risk requirements are not met. Article 9, risk management system requirement, continuous risk management system throughout the AI life cycle. And again, I would have said this in the last one. There we go, ISO 23894, it's red against that. It's amber against 42001. Article 10, train data and data governance, 5259, just straight up non-compliant. And I keep again, I'm repeating myself, but data being the bedrock of all AI systems, and the conversation about data. Yeah, it's everywhere, make sure it's labeled, this, that. But these same people are not screaming 5259. There's around 4 valuable parts to 5259. And all the talk about data that I see, make sure your data's this, it's labeled. 5259's absent from 90% of those conversations. Crazy. Transparency. There we go. 6254 must enable users to interpret output and use it appropriately. Again, the latest standard, technical standard 6254, explainability and interpretability, completely out of the conversation online. Explainability methods implemented are present. Stakeholder appropriate explanations are present. Article 15, accuracy, robustness, and cybersecurity. Again, we've got we've got 4 different standards there. And, I can't wait for this 27090 or 91, I think it might be, when it's finalized, to come out and just fully bolt that onto this. But again, you can see just, you don't want to create too many roadblocks in your way. But I think at this stage where we're not sure of the direction things are going in, if you can extract and interweave as much of these standards as possible, not as a block or a hindrance, but just something that gives you the confidence that we've done the best that we possibly can to show compliance, best practice, to pass certification. I mean, just look at that. So for, what's this? Yeah, accuracy, robustness, and cybersecurity. You'll probably already have your ISMS system 27001 already well in place. Most businesses will have. But now you can just whack all these on top. 29119 for test documentation. For those that don't know, there's a standard which tells you how to document your documents, how to organize your documents. And again, I don't really see much conversation about it, the way that they like it structured. 42119 for AI testing, which again is a bolt-on on top of 29119, specifically for AI testing. Those two together is a powerhouse. 29119 and 42119 is a powerhouse combination. One leads onto the other. 25058, AI quality, again, totally out of the conversation. So ISO 2790, security assessment, threats evaluated, 13 AI specific threats in section 6, status non-applicable. OWASP controls compliance, red, 0 out of 7 controls. Key threats assessed, data poisoning, model exfiltration, training data leak, direct model theft, prompt injection, adversarial impacts. All this you can go and find either in this standard 27090 or the OWASP AI controls. I forget the name. Sorry, it's slipped my mind. Evidence, accuracy metrics documented, robustness testing completed, cybersecurity threat assessment missing. So it's all just, nothing's there. Quality management system 42001, it's okay. 5338, not compliant. Gap analysis, gap article 9, risk management. Again, it's just going into detail, all about the EUA Act. And again, your timestamps, report generated date, time, against what frameworks, and who was assessing it. And then let's have a look now at the executive summary. I did say we was looking at the executive summary early, but it wasn't, my bad. This is actually the executive summary, so it should be a lot more basic than the others. Executive compliance summary, overall non-compliant, ISO standards, compliant with none, partial compliance with 2, non-compliant with 7. So again, that's massive. For those of you that don't want to read through this many standards and then understand how they apply to your system. There you go. You're non-compliant with 7 of them. EU Act compliance, you're a high risk, you're non-compliant, and you've been rejected. Here's why against what articles. Deployments blocked. Attention required. Review detailed compliance reports. So this is just going to tell your manager, your boss, we need to have a chat. We've got to get everybody together because this ain't working right now. And again, there's just different things for different teams there. And if your boss is not convinced, you can see here the framework, which is what I've built, the ISO compliance gate. This is what it's including. So if they can argue against this, then all good luck to them. So yeah, guys, thanks for watching again. That's the ISO compliance gate, or the assessment framework, including all those standards and the EU AA Act. It was automatically triggered when the model was registered. It assesses against 8 ISO standards. It evaluates EU AA Act requirements. It generates detailed reports showing exactly what needs fixing. And it updates model status automatically, all serverless, all automated. And it's something that I'm quite proud of, and I'm just building and adding to. The more I learn, the more I understand. And yeah, please, if you have any questions or any advice, any suggestions, just let me know. I'd love to hear from you. So thanks again for watching. Until next time, take care.